I wanted to share a story with y'all, and it's just made up, but I feel like it will help just demonstrate a point, so we'll just call this a parable or a metaphor. So, they came from the darkness, they came from the darkness upon the ocean, and they came with ships, and they came for one purpose: to destroy. They followed the stars of the night sky, and they came from faraway lands with different languages. They came for one purpose, as we said: to destroy, to rob resources, and to subdue and conquer. They took many prisoners, and they interrogated them, and they documented, and they questioned, and they made everyone attached to the Bureau so that the resistance which remained in order became the very, very few, to where eventually, when the people who were born into that nation, they were actually forgot who they were before the war and terror had seized the cultures and the land that had once been occupied by an entirely different kind of people with different values, different dress, different ways of making a living, so that this fierce enemy with their fiery arrows and their advanced technology, who came from the darkness as thieves and robbers and set up their own government, so that even the people who were born after a few generations didn't even know the difference that there had ever been a different government. No bureau, no paperwork, no tracking, just coexisting with the earth. So that even to speak of the old way became treachery and became sinister, and people were aware that to speak that way was to be evil and to go against the grain. At least that's what the propaganda had so told people. So that the ones who conquered in the darkness, guided by the stars from faraway land, became a light unto the people, because they had no memory of the darkness by which they came and the foundations at which they destroyed and committed genocide to the people who sat quietly alone in lands far away from the ones who would now rule them for the rest of their life and their children's lives and their grandchildren's life, so that the days of their days upon the earth would be under heavy hands and heavy taxation and cruel masters who were simply leaders who were subject to men who were far away. And that the true light in the old way, in the ancient way, was thought to be darkness, because the new light, whose foundations were in the darkness and in the theft and in the robbery, overpowered what was once the true light and foundations of light, now became the ones who were thought to be in darkness. So that people called good evil and evil good, and they called light darkness and darkness light. So that even the languages changed and became combined. And there was set as a standard a new religion that departed from the old way, which was to understand that the food set in front of us and the drink set in front of us and the plants that God caused to grow and that the children that God brought forth from the people of our own people and of our own nation were understood to be the true blessings from God until they came. And then money and their currency and their power and their authority even confused the people to make them think that that's what a blessing was. So, as we grow, one moment please. Are you okay, Bubba? Alright, be careful, alright? So, I hope that this analogy was enjoyable, and I hope that you can find the metaphor and you understand that the new songs being sung aren't always the right songs, and the songs of a faraway people and a distant people may not be the song that your heart had always truly wanted to sing, and that the language that was forced upon you might not always be the language that you want to speak, and that if we temper what we truly feel in our hearts from the sadnesses we've experienced and the pain we've experienced, that the new song and the new speech may be far more valuable and useful to people than the departure which has happened by the colonizers and monopolizers who have tried to change the thoughts and change the speech so that we would so soon forget and depart away from what is upright and what is a good foundation to stand upon. So as the new technologies and globalization becomes more real at your home, in your community, around your neighbors, we'll learn that resources and money and all the externalized things are what people conquered for, destroyed our grandparents, our great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, because it's always been a power struggle over resources and money and slaves, right? And as people become more and more wage slaves through spread out countries, they'll have to learn the hard truths about what globalization is doing as they form these man-made schools, institutions, churches, and governments that are cruel and overlord and exercise too much authority and exercise too much lordship, so that people will swiftly be sucked into this new lies of Darwinianism and the supremacy of particular races, and begin to feel lifted up for vainglory and want rank and power within these conquering subduers, and become the new lords who answer to the new authorities. And even your own people who were you thought were your friends and family became the treacherous ones, and they joined the ones who came from the darkness to steal and rob. And that after the generations, they began to corrupt the children so that they would grow up and corrupt their children, and that it would seem that this had always been the way. I hope this helps, and I hope this was encouraging, and I hope that you could feel the metaphor. And there are organizations, just like the constellations, that the old navigators would use at night, and now they call these men stars, and they call these men celebrities, and these men and women, and they lift them up on pedestals. But even the dimmest star in the night sky may have some way to lead. And just because someone doesn't shine bright doesn't mean that they're not also good for navigation and the way, you know, if you're a believer, because the way is Jesus Christ. And these men set up their own constellations, and they lead by them. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.